For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm here for you a little too much, and of course, I couldn't be doing this show without Brennan. How we doing today, man?
Good, man. I'm just counting down the days till free agency. I think it's like 60-something days away from free agency.
We're getting close. I cannot freaking wait. I mean, have you already drawn up all the big board? You got the strings tying to the pins, trying to figure out where everybody's going.
Yeah, it's like I'm like the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia scene where I'm just trying to clue in to see how the Colts sign everybody, but then in reality we just signed a backup offensive tackle, and that's it.
But not till like 10 days into free agency. So
yeah. We don't ever sign anybody the first day, folks. Just for record, like I can't remember the last time. I think it was like during Ryan Hendrickson years we signed somebody in the first day and it was cool.
It's probably a rugby player too, or some German.
Yeah,
player.
it was like Greg Toller, and we were just like, sweet.
Oh, folks, we hope you have it a little bit more fun than we do, because you know what? That's really what I'm excited for. The other 31 teams to watch, to see. But coming right off a little bit of news here, it looks like Tee Higgins will not be hitting free agency. Again, we don't have anything official, but it looks like they are going to be franchise tagging him for the second. This is the second year, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be a nice little increase stacked on there. I think it's 20% on the normal franchise tag, but it looks like this is also going to be more of a franchise tag and sign. This is just kind of taking the deliberations all the way till mid-June or mid-July if they need to.
Yeah, someone broke it down on X. They were basically like, if they don't sign him, it's a huge cap hit to basically where it hinders them from making any other signings, because clearly they need to sign back Trey Hendrickson. They need to fix that defense even more. So I don't know if they plan to do the draft, but they definitely need to, extend T, extend Trey Hendrickson, and probably go get another, couple safeties. So
don't you dare forget about Jamar Chase, because he started talking about sitting out last year, and if we get to week 1 and he's not in that situation, I could be sweating a little bit. We got some Kelce news. We have rumors. He's saying he's going to take some time, figure it out. Does he come back? Does he walk away with that? But I mean, the inkling from the franchise, what were you getting out of that? The statement coming from them? Where are you looking?
So they're obviously never going to tell him to please retire, but they can say it in ways that, kind of degrades you without degrading you. They're like, we'd love Kelce back, but we'd want him back in a reduced role and more so of a mentorship role towards the tight end room. Let me ask you this, how many other tight ends, so let's say if Travis Kelce is back next year, how many tight ends could you comfortably say you'll draft ahead of him? Is he still in the top 12?
I would probably have him ranked there, but I wouldn't draft him there. I would not draft him there because he's going to be touchdown or bust, essentially, I think, going into it. I don't think he's going to have the target share that you're going to want to be happy with, especially in the Chiefs' offense.
Yeah. I think he should retire. I think he's already cemented himself as a top 2 tight end. Some people have him as the greatest of all time.
First ballot.
Yeah, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's going to go make more money doing commentary in his podcast on ESPN with his brother. You can live a very good life and marrying almost one of the richest women in the world too. On top of that, dude,
he's fine.
I have no problem if he retired. I think this is the right time to call it.
I think so too. Speaking of guys who said it's the right time to call it, Ben Johnson, let's segue into the coaches here. He had fun in Detroit. They didn't make it to the Super Bowl. He called it quits heading down the road to Chicago. So Chicago hired, like I said, Ben Johnson as the head coach. We've got Doyle coming in as the offensive coordinator from Denver. He's not calling plays. Ben Johnson is, so he's just there to learn a little bit. And then Dennis Allen, fired Saints head coach, is up there at defense. Thoughts? Give me your breakdown here.
Before we start, do you think they should not do the head coaching interview for playoff time? Do you think there's some sort of alignment that messes with their heads? Do you think it really messed up the Lions game because they, obviously Aaron Glenn and both Ben Johnson were interviewing, and a couple other guys like Kellen Moore, and stuff like that?
I don't think so. I do think they should be able. I get the whole I think it's the first 2 weeks into the playoffs they can only do virtual stuff. They're limited, which I think that's good, but at the same time if we're waiting till after the Super Bowl for some of this, some coaches are going to get picked up. It's a smaller window for them to figure out what they're doing. But I mean, the combine's right around the corner. So if they were waiting till after the Super Bowl, so I don't mind it. I get it gets a little messy in there, but these franchises need coach sooner than later. So if you're having to wait, you're rolling the dice.
Yeah, so in regards to Ben Johnson, he was obviously the cream of the crop this offseason. He was everyone's one of one. He obviously got paid as a one of one. I think he's the third highest paid head coach as a rookie head coach. So very impressive. Declan Doyle won't be calling plays. However, though, he is like a hot commodity, I guess, from Denver.
29 years old.
They were talking about him as like the second coming of Christ coming out of there. This is very interesting. Like they said that he's a really great offensive mind. But this is a really good duo for Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen. Because regardless, Dennis Allen actually is a really good defensive coordinator.
100%. If he would have stayed there with the Saints, he could have just rolled out his career. But not head coach material.
Yeah, some guys just aren't meant to be head coaches. I mean, Ben Johnson was a very, very good offensive mind with the Lions. I mean, let me ask you this, though. If it wasn't for all of, I mean, would you arguably say that Detroit, I mean, they're probably the top two offensive linemen, top two combo running backs, really, really good wide receiver, really good tight ends. Do you think it was the pieces or was it Ben Johnson?
I think you can say it was both. Like, I mean, if he didn't have such a great offensive line, talented running backs, do I think they would have achieved what they did as far as like leading the league in points and all this kind of stuff? Maybe not, but like Amon-Ra is great, but the receiving core hasn't been amazing. Jamison Williams just kind of blossomed this year. He didn't even have him for the last year and a half due to off-field stuff. So I do think it's just a marrying of both worlds, but that is what makes me skeptical about coming into it, at least year one. This Bears offensive line is drastically different. It's so much worse than what the Lions have. The running backs, it's a completely different situation back there. So I think I have optimism for Ben Johnson, but I don't know how many pieces I'll actually get to own because I'm worried about the ADP. If it's close to what it was this past year, I think that's going to be too rich.
Yeah, I'm in on Rome. I'll tell you guys this much, and I think me and Brian harp on it. Second-year wide receivers are where they blossom typically. So I know Rome didn't have the great season. Neither did Caleb. I mean, a lot of the guys in this offense, besides Keenan Allen, I guess, was the only one really playable.
Shane Waldron.
More. Yeah. So I'm in on Rome this next year for fantasy. Now let me ask you this. I know he really likes to use two running backs. So do you think they're going to draft or sign another one? This
running back draft class is so deep. They're going to take somebody. Whether they take it on day one or day two, I'm not 100%. I think they would take it in day two, but they'll take somebody in the draft at some point. But I like Roschon Johnson too. So like even if it's just to replace Swift, because Ben Johnson's had DeAndre Swift. Who knows if he wants to keep him?
Yeah, I just think their biggest needs will be offensive line. So let's hope they address that before the season starts.
I'd agree. All right, we got exciting, folks. We hit the big sell. Ben Johnson there with the Bears. I'm going to take it down real low. Let's get this one over with. Rip this Band-Aid off. Let's go to Dallas. Let's talk about Schottenheimer. Going to head coach. Was the OC. Now he's the head coach. Doesn't have an OC. He'll probably keep calling the plays. Matt Eberflus, former DC of the Colts, former head coach of the Bears, is now coming back. Another guy. Great coordinator. Terrible head coach. So I'm more optimistic, I think, than most about the Cowboys. I don't think they're great. I don't have them high, top 12, but Schottenheimer has been consistent in the passing game as far as like high touchdown ratio because of how well he runs the ball. So I'm not exactly scared of this offense.
Yeah, I mean, if they draft Ashton Genty, though, I mean, and there's realistic expectations. That's a possibility. This team needs a running back. It's Rico Dowdle he was great for what he was, but this team needs like a punch in the face running back, and this is the draft class for it. So I definitely think they will. If they sign Najee Harris, though, all the Ashton Genty dreams are gone. I feel like because it's a possibility. I don't know why. I just imagine Najee as a Cowboy, but I'm still going to draft CD as a top 5 wide receiver because it's the talent. He's a talented wide receiver. Dak is still a very good quarterback, to say that at least. I mean, how much of it will reflect on Schottenheimer's play calling, we don't know. Maybe the offensive coordinator that he hires will be the play caller. I'm assuming though Schottenheimer will be the play caller, though. I think if
Same.
it's his first crack, he wants to be the guy, making sure everything's right. It's his way, and if it goes south, then maybe he relieves himself. But no, like you said, Matt Eberflus is at the bare minimum a top 15 defensive coordinator. So this team should be okay to decent.
Yeah, I think we're going to go back to more of what we saw 2 years ago with them. I think the defense is going to function really well, putting the offense in a good position. And yeah, I'm not afraid of CD. And I think Dak might be, at this point in time, at least looking at ADP, one of the few steals right now. When I say steal, I mean by like 3 to 4 ADP spots. But like he's being undervalued right now because of the injury. I think just because he just doesn't seem sexy, despite him being a top 5 fantasy quarterback in times and supporting CD. He just doesn't come off as like a sexy pick, and I think that's going to play into our favor.
Yeah, this team needs a little bit of everything. Like, I mean, offensive line is getting very old. Like Zach Martin's getting up there in age. They need to address that part. They need another wide receiver too. They need a running back. Their defense has a little bit of holes, and he assigned Micah to a big extension this offseason. Like, this team needs a little bit of everything, so I'm very curious. I think DeMarcus Lawrence will be gone. I think they don't want to pay him. So it'll be very interesting to see what this team does with a little bit of cap space in the draft, and I'm very curious to see how Schottenheimer puts everything together.
Same. Good enough where they can compete for the division, or do you think the Eagles and Commanders are going to be two fighting for it?
I think with the Commanders having $80 million makes everything a lot more different. Sorry. And Jay Daniels is like, it's a difference maker for sure.
Cowboys are going to be fighting for wild card spot number 7. That's for sure. That last spot in the playoffs. Yeah. All right, let's get a little bit more exciting here. Despite the freaking drama that came between Liam Cohen and the Jags, at first he showed up. They still had their old GM. Him and a few others turned it down. The owner fired Bulky, the GM, and here comes Liam Cohen. A little shady shit, and he made his way back.
He must have had a conversation with Shad Khan and was just like, you get rid of him, I will sign. And then immediately, within less than 24 hours, he fires him, and he's the head coach.
Hey, it works. I'm glad they did it. Yeah. Bulky needed to be out of there. It seemed like awful. That was holding them back. So I think this franchise has a chance to blossom.
He was holding on to the worst GM award. Now it's still Chris Ballard. So
right.
Congrats. Literally.
They did bring in, Grant Udinski. They brought him in. He was the offensive coordinating assistant for the Vikings last year, assistant quarterback coach the year before. Been with the Vikings for a while. So I'm excited for Liam Cohen, and then you put together a little KOC magic in there too. It's gonna be great things.
With, McVay tree. I mean, obviously that's a really good. Liam Cohen made it look really good with Baker and company. So adding, a mindset like that makes things something really interesting. Let me ask you this, though. Etienne and Bigsby, obviously Liam Cohen does like to use, he had no problem using 2 running backs. Where are you at with both of them?
I think that they both could be viable as far as Etienne being able to support himself with enough receptions in the passing game. And then as long as Bigsby becomes the goal line guy, he's getting the touchdowns, I think that could keep them both kind of flirting with flex running back 2 numbers most weeks. But I think that's going to play into it a lot. Bigsby, we saw get a few more receptions this past year. He's not typically been that style of running back, but who knows? And it's a deep. And I believe this is Etienne's last year on his contract as well.
Yeah, they have a choice to give him to pick up the 5th-year extension, I believe, and I don't think they will. So
yeah, so you've got that. You've got this deep running back class in the draft. I'm cautiously optimistic about Etienne, especially I was not into him last year, but this year I'm like, all right, where could we get that bounce back? Does that ADP come down low enough where he might tickle your fancy a bit?
Brian Thomas Jr.'s top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. He's best ball right now. It's very early best ball, folks. But yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. is first round right now.
Have you done some best ball?
I just did one. You I could not. I was like, let me just figure out where ADP is right now. Just one. I'm going to wait till after.
I'll hop in one probably sometime this week. That's funny.
Oh, it's ridiculous, folks. Hey, if you're watching this video or listening to it on the podcast, you got the same problem we do. So no judgment.
True. Not wrong.
Evan Ingram, are we going to be excited for him and or Christian Kirk if we get him coming back?
I don't think Christian Kirk is coming back. I feel like they might go back-to-back first-round wide receiver.
I don't. Oh man, I'm very torn
They're
about
in
the
a
wide
weird
receivers this year.
spot. I think I can see him go O-line and address that. But like, I'm not sure. This team, what you
Chris
got from
Godwin coming up from Tampa with Liam
I
Cohen.
think he's gonna stay. I guess he wants to retire a Buccaneer. Like, it's kind of weird. I thought for sure he'd want to hit the. Now with Tee Higgins coming off, he is now the hot commodity.
I would love to see him go up there with Jacksonville. Like, he's such a great run blocker as well, but being able to fit him in there with Brian Thomas Jr. Oh gosh, am I drooling? Alrighty, let's head to Vegas. Let's talk about. Okay. I was excited. I was thoroughly excited about this one. We have some names up here we know. Pete Carroll coming out of retirement to come help out the Raiders. They have so many holes there, but as old as this guy is, now the oldest coach in the league, you have to think that they're going to try and push the pedal down quick over these next couple of years. Chip Kelly's coming off of a national championship win, OC for Ohio State. He's coming back to the NFL to coach with Pete Carroll. Thoughts there?
So one, Ohio State just has talent among talent among talent. Like, they literally just they're wide. If you see their wide receiver room, it is by far one of the best. I mean, obviously LSU has put out 4 amazing guys, but like Ohio State's literally right behind it, along with the running backs. They're tied. It's just, and their offensive line is stout. So like, but Chip Kelly has done this before, right? He's a very good offensive play caller. He typically runs more plays by average than other teams.
That's going to be the interesting thing here.
Yeah.
Is Pete Carroll has fired coaches because they don't meet his mantra of run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. So can Chip Kelly get some cool, they may not have a quarterback. They may draft one, they may not. There's so many up in the air, but do they go heavy on running backs and try to deploy like a 2 running back system where they're very, who knows what this offense could look like?
Yeah, it's Zamir White and Lobb as their current running backs, and Zamir White sucks, and Lobb is Sincere. Not good.
Come on.
I forgot about Sincere. I think this is going to be this running back free agency class is awful. There's obviously this draft class is amazing. They have Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers. They have building blocks to go off of, but they also have a tremendous amount of holes. And now there's talks of this is a year. Honestly, I know Raiders fans. It probably sucks to hear this though. You probably should trade Max Crosby for a King's ransom.
100%.
And just build this up again. I'm really sorry. I know he's one of those guys that you just want to keep forever. But you guys have so many lingering holes that you just can't fix with one draft. You need to do it for a couple drafts and start to build and do it properly.
Yeah, and they also have Michael Mayer, who they took in the second round 2 years ago. So, I mean, we could see a nice amount of 12 or 22 personnel coming out of this team this year.
Yeah.
Chip Kelly, it's exciting. I'm not going to get it overhyped, though. Like you said, he's been working with some pretty good pieces. I believe
he was their starting quarterback on week 1. Is it Aiden O'Connell, or where are they going?
Sanders?
Shador? You think they make a move up?
Or maybe he falls. I don't know. I've been all over.
I don't think he falls to 7. It's either, so I'll say a name who I think they can draft in the second. Jackson Dart.
I've heard a lot of hype that he's QB3.
Mm-hmm. Well, you'll hear some hype. I could see him being a Raider though. So
yeah, 100%. Or Sam. I've heard rumors of Sam Darnold as well. That would be a fit for them.
Dude, he could be a Jet again.
That one makes sense. Come on, the previous regime is gone. Why not?
It's true.
Alrighty, we're gonna go up there. Not quite the Jets. Same division though. Let's talk about some names. Close. We all know these names here. Mike Vrabel came from the Patriots. He's back with the Patriots. Titans head coach for so long. And, of course, Josh McDaniels cannot stay the hell away with his 3rd or 4th stint as the offensive coordinator for the Patriots.
Yeah, this is a Patriots fan's wet dream right here. Vrabel and McDaniels back there, just creaming pies over there.
And I know pride-wise, he wouldn't do it, but why did Gerard Mayo not come back as the defensive coordinator and we just plaster all 3 guys in there?
Yeah, honestly, this is Vrabel's obviously a very good leader of men. Josh McDaniels is a very, very good offensive play caller. Terrible head coach, shitty human being, but very good offensive play caller.
I honestly think this helps my feelings about Mike Vrabel being there with Drake May. Because otherwise with him and Drake May, I'm like, he's going to want to run the ball a lot. He's going to want to play defense. But Josh McDaniels can make some amazing things happen and doesn't need a whole lot. So even if they keep this crap, because this receiving core isn't going to get Tee Higgins now. Like we're seeing that. So unless they make a big move for, some of these wide receivers, Garrett Wilson's off the table for them. So
they have pick 4, right?
Pick 3, I think.
Is it 3? No, the Giants I thought had 3. I think they have 4. So they will be in the market for like a Travis Hunter, the guy from Arizona who's slated as the one right
Ted
now.
McMillan.
Yeah, so I'll be very curious to see what they do with this draft. But because obviously I don't think I'm not excited about Javon Baker. I'm not excited about Polk.
Nope.
Yeah, Drake. I'm excited about Drake May though. I think Drake
I am
May
excited about him.
is very exciting. So.
And I don't think they need a whole lot. I think they can go get some wide receiver 3s, like, Khalil Shakir. Isn't he going to be a free agent? Something like that. Mm-hmm. And I think McDaniels can make that work. I mean, look what he made. He made Edelman and all those little slot guys work just fine for Tom Brady.
Yep.
Moving on, let's go to the South. The NFC South. Kellen Moore is taking over the head coaching reins for the Saints. Really, they had nobody else to pick from. So
they begged him. They begged him and paid him very well because they were desperate and they knew this was the last guy that was worth a damn. Let's be honest. Like, he is a good offensive play caller. Don't know how he'll be as a head coach. He's very young, but he's been a play caller. Obviously, he started his time at Boise State as the quarterback there, and I think they were ranked like top 5 in the nation. They were a lot of fun to watch. Then became the offensive play caller with Dallas, and that was the year when they had the most touchdowns, right? Something crazy like that.
Yep. Did you see the thing how Kellen Moore played against Derek Carr in college, and it's Derek Carr's second worst loss that he's ever had?
Yeah, I did see that. I did see something like that where he did play him, he smacked him. Yeah,
awkward.
Let's just say, I don't know what this team is going to be with the Saints. There's just so many. They in
$60 million over the cap.
In theory, they should cut Derek Carr.
Yeah,
they should start shipping off a lot of these guys. That I know their defensive end, Jordan.
Cameron Jordan.
Probably say,
Jordan Cameron.
Yeah, Jordan Cameron. They should be like, hey man, we love you to death. We're not going to compete. If you want to go and compete, please, we'll trade you. But I think they need to start trading off a lot of these guys and just getting a ton of cap or draft picks, and then building this up from the ground up.
Yeah, I really have no expectations for any of these players here. Kamara, as long as we get him a decent price, he should just get an unreal, workload with him there. Chris Olave, I have no idea how I'm going to be statting and checking this out. I'm excited if it's not Derek Carr, but again, you've got to temper your expectations for this team. They need to completely tank just to fix their cap problem.
My only thing is, if Derek Carr is a quarterback, I don't know if I want to draft Olave because he just throws him hospital balls.
Yeah, that's my thing. If Derek Carr's there, it's Kamara and I'm out.
Even then, I'm I don't know if I want to touch a single player on this team, to be honest with you.
Oh, it's hard not to have Kamara. He's been brilliant.
Yeah, but at some point, these guys just hit a wall. And is it going to be this year? I'm just not sure.
I'm not either, but I'm willing to. Hurt me, Alvin.
Hurt me.
Speaking of pain, let's get this last one knocked out here. It's the Jets. They brought Aaron Glenn, the DC from the Lions over here. He brought Tanner Engstrand. Sorry if I got your name wrong, buddy. We won't be saying it a whole lot until next year, so we'll see there. But yeah, brought him over with from the Lions as well, tight end coach over there. So I hope that we can get this offense up and moving. Let's get some Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson magic. But Aaron Rodgers isn't coming back.
Let me ask you the question here before we start. What's the definition of insanity?
Doing the things that Jets do.
Is cool because this is now their 7th time hiring a head coach that's defensive minded in a row.
It's okay. They're going to get it this time. No, honestly, that just makes me feel bad for Aaron Glenn. This is his first shot. He's going to begin his first 2 to 3 years with a sub 500 record. The poor guy.
Yeah, I'm. I think he made the right move at offensive coordinator. I think, bringing in someone he's familiar with that's obviously was under Ben Johnson, great play caller, great offensive mind. I'm just curious of obviously who's their quarterback because it's not Aaron Rodgers. Is it Jordan Travis? Obviously, he's kind of polarizing a little bit. He played at FSU and they were ranked really high, and then obviously he tore his ACL or broke his knee or something like that. Missed all of the rookie year, so it could be him. Could they dabble with Sam Darnold again?
I just think that's not safe for anybody involved.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So, and then Devontae Adams. There's just so many questions about this team. We just don't know.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson has, talked about a trade rumor, like a month ago. So, Breece Hall, have you seen Ashton Genty mocked to the Jets? I don't remember what's his name did. Breece Hall never had a 1,000-yard rushing season. He's been hurt a few times. He's up for a contract.
I will say Breece Hall didn't look like Breece Hall last year. I will say that. Like, for all the touches he got, he did not look like the old Breece Hall. So, like, I kind of can see that.
And it's a year removed from the ACL.
Yeah, and Braylon Allen looked just fine, though. So, I don't know. This team has some very, very interesting holes.
Poor Jets fans. As far as other teams, I just want to bring up Clint Kubiak. We saw some excitement down there in New Orleans before Dennis Allen really took the reins there and got himself fired. But he was obviously released because, head coach that cleaned house. But he's up there with Seattle. They got rid of Grubb after one season. It was one and done for them, but I'm excited.
That was weird for me. I feel like he did okay.
I did too.
That was the one firing I was like, why? Like, that he made JSN relevant. He made him what he is. I mean, DK took the back seat. Maybe, I don't know if DK was up. I really don't know what that team is. So I'm very curious. Because obviously Clint Kubiak has moments where he's flashed very well, but I really don't know. I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, like what was that situation for the first 2 weeks with the Saints? Nobody really knows what happened those first 2 weeks. And then Nick Caley coming in as the new OC for Houston. Hopefully he can take him over that edge. As D'Amico Ryan said, he's coming over from the McVay tree. He was there with the Rams. So, of course, something that he's going to be familiar with, D'Amico Ryan's.
Yeah, it's crazy because the old offensive coordinator was like a premier head coach hunt the season before, and now he's just dust in the wind. It's crazy how it's a flip of a switch that quickly for you in the NFL.
Yeah. Cool. What else we got? Any other coaches you want to bring up?
I'm trying to think. Let me see if I have any that are highlighted that I'm like, oh, let's talk about him. But Todd Bowles, they hired John Grizzard. He's in-house. Again, this will be... Oh, another thing, too, is that Philadelphia still hasn't got an offensive coordinator, so that's going to be interesting.
Nobody wants to work with Sirianni. Nobody wants to go there.
I don't blame you. Yeah, John Grizzard's now the offensive play caller for the Bucs, so that's Baker's, third one now in a row?
Mm-hmm. No, Baker? No, he's 6 or 7 in a row.
It's something crazy like that.
Yeah,
and Baker's just
wild.
Done nothing but is Baker now moving up higher on your list now because it just shows how good he is?
Yeah. Once you get the bad franchise off your back, Carolina or Cleveland, you do pretty damn well.
Yeah, that would have been cool if he was a Colt because he wanted to be one.
All right. Oh, last one I want to bring up, though, John Morton, the guy taking over for Ben Johnson in there as the OC for Detroit. That's going to be huge for me because this team's got to regress on the offensive side. I just think they have to. He is coming over from Denver. He was the passing game coordinator the last 2 years with Sean Payton. He was the offensive assistant for Detroit 2 years prior. So he has some tangibility there in the building.
Okay.
All righty, man. We got to get out of here. We got to shut it down.
That's it. Yeah.
It's time for dinner. All right, folks. If you need more of me, it's at @too_much_Brian on X, @too_much_Brian everywhere else. Brennan, tell the folks where they can find you. I
am on X at FFAMBMulk, and then you can find me on the Fantasy Football Advice Network there as well.
Damn straight. Come find us all over the place there. We're on just the platform itself, whether it's on YouTube here, on Spotify, all that fun stuff. But until then, we'll catch you later, folks. Peace out.